Hello everyone, I'm Vin Ebenau here at Jackson Liberty High School to preview the 2017 season with head coach Jim Sharples. Coach, I know you didn't have the season you would have liked to last year, but what kind of team are we looking at this year what kind of turnaround are you expecting following a one-win season?
Well, we're definitely much better prepared physically. The kids worked hard in the off-season, which was nice to see. We're young though, but you know, we also had a period last year where we kind of went towards the future and started playing a lot of younger kids. So because of that, we have a lot of kids coming back that have some game experience, which is nice.
Who are some of those younger guys or those returning starters that have impressed you the most in the off-season, preseason?
Well, we have a few sophomores. I'll work my way up. We have a few sophomore kids that played freshman football last year that are starting to make an impact on the varsity. Jimmy Solentano's a running back and a linebacker, and he's doing a really good job for us. Jake Bosco is another impressive, athlete. He plays slot receiver, he plays some corner. He was a quarterback last year for the freshman team. And Garrett Blasi's a good-sized lineman who's all three of those guys are going to find their way onto the varsity field. And then, going up from there, we had some kids that got their feet wet a little bit. Ilya Sivkov is going to be a linebacker for us. He's another guy who because of what we did last year, got himself on the field as a sophomore. So, as a junior, we see some good things from him, as well as Jake Statsiunas, who's a safety. And then, we have some kids that are seniors that are quite impressive. With Nick Johnson is a 3-year starter, offensive line, defensive end. He's going to be, I think, one of the better players in the Shore this year. He's really toned himself up and prepared himself in the off-season. Joe Crouchman, a big, strong lineman, is a 2-year starter. We got guys who got some playing experience up front, even though they were young last year. And then, we have a quarterback controversy, or you want to call it a competition. We have a transfer from Wall High School, Antonio, and he's gonna be battling it out with a sophomore, Evan Catron, who's a transfer as well from Red Bank Catholic. So it's been fun. Camp's been good. A lot of kids working and competing and knowing that they have a shot to play.
What are some of the things you want to work on from last year? I know you got a good quarterback competition you just mentioned going on here, but what are some of the things you hope to improve on from last year to kind of turn things around at Liberty again?
Well, we need to run the ball well, and Jacquel Spears played a lot of running back for us last year. He's a senior, and he's been handling a lot of the load along with Jimmy Solentano, who's the young guy. So if we could run the ball with them guys, and also with our quarterback, then that opens up our whole offense. So the running game, and it starts up front with a good push, and 4 of our up front guys all have some varsity playing experience. So I expect an improvement up front, and that should translate to the backfield and then to the passing game eventually. So that's where I see improvement. Plus, on the other side of the ball, I got a new defensive coordinator. He's from Allentown. As you know, they took care of business last year, won the states, and he brought his system here. And I took a step back from defense, and I'm just kind of like overseeing everything this year, which has been a relief for me. And the kids are picking up on the defense, and as we go forward, it'll get a little bit more second nature to them, and I think we're going to be moving around, flying around a lot, and hopefully you see a big improvement on defense.
What are some of those improvements that you've seen so far since Jeff Schmidt has brought that defense over from that Allentown experience? I know he was at Tom's River East a few years ago as well. Well,
he simplified things, which is what I always tried to do as well, and he has a great system for doing that and keeping things simple. When things are simple and kids don't have to think and kids could run free and play free, better things are going to happen for your defense, and I see that. I see things that we started in June and July, out here at night, starting to really click. We just had one scrimmage, and that kind of stuff usually takes just at scrimmage 2 or 3 before we start to pick up on calls and things like that, and I see it already. So that aspect is huge. We start running around playing, without thinking, good things will happen.
Now you're going to need both sides of the ball to compete in the B South, with a lot of the other teams have some returning starters as well, especially offenses like Point Borough and Lakewood. I know Lacey looks good again. Manchester has some guys returning. So is the defense just as important as the offense to kind of compete in the B South this year?
Yeah, the B South is pretty interesting because it is a diverse collection of offenses. You have your Pinelands, single wing type, no splits, double tight offense that, completely contrasts with, even though it's not B South, we still have Freehold Township, who's an air raid type of offense, and then we hit a flex bone defense offense like Point Borough has. So yeah, you have to be able to adjust on the fly. It's not like everybody comes out and runs the same thing. So week to week game planning is a challenge, and if you watched the playoffs last year and you saw Allentown, you saw how well they were prepared and took care of business against 2 really good shore teams in Jackson and then Brick Township. So I'm confident that, as we look at these different teams, Lakewood too runs something a little different than everyone else. Mm-hmm. As you look at these different teams, Jeff will have them going. Jeff will have them prepared.
How far do you think this team can go this year? What is this team capable of?
Every year when you look at the B South, you always think that you have a chance. I always think that there's not a team that you say we can't play with them. And year to year we prove it. We beat a 7-0 Point Borough team one year when we were 500. So getting out there and playing against those teams, I would like to think, if we could finish near the top of the middle of the pack and maybe get ourselves in the playoffs, that's our goal. I mean, to win the B South would be great. We've never done it here, but it's a challenge, and you have to really run the table against some good teams, and I think this team has the ability to do that. And confidence, if they get it going, rolling with a little confidence, and we always have that opportunity against Jackson Memorial to start our season with a bang. And every year we look forward to it, and it hasn't happened yet, but we're working toward it. So that's the mission.
Is there a lot of optimism and confidence among the players and the rest of the team about what they can do this year?
Yeah, I see. So far we have good numbers out here. Attendance has been great. The kids are pushing each other. The kids help each other out, and I see a nice attitude. Certain kids stayed away from playing football this year because they weren't really into the commitment that we put in the off season, and these guys that did, they feel like they have a right to be leaders out here, and I see that. So that's all good stuff.
I know we've talked a lot about defense so far today, and that could be a critical part in beating some of the teams in the B South with some of the offense they have. What would you say overall, though, is the X factor this season for this team to accomplish some of its goals and get back on the winning track?
Well, we're gonna have a first-year quarterback any way you look at it. It's either going to be a sophomore or junior who's never played varsity football. So that's an X factor. How well the line picks up where they left off and gets off the ball and starts moving people around, that's an X factor. I think it's skill. We have receivers like Gannon Weich. We have a new kid who transferred in from Freehold Township, who's just a sophomore, and his name is Jason Nami, and he's another exciting player. So I think skill-wise, I don't worry too much. But those 2 things up front got me. That's the X factor. How well we're going to block, and which one of these 2 quarterbacks is going to take over and take the team on their shoulders.
Is there anybody that's impressed you so far in training camp, in the offseason, the preseason, that kind of impact newcomer, whether it's one of the young guys or one of the guys that's transferred in?
Well, Jason Nami is impressive. He's an electrifying player. He's only a sophomore, so he'll get even better. A couple of my freshmen that I mentioned earlier, Jimmy Solentano and Jake Bosco, have also impressed. Those young guys, along with Evan Catron, who's competing for the quarterback job, and we didn't get to see Evan last year. He played at Red Bank Catholic, so he transferred back over. His brother was here for 4 years, so we know the family and we know him. So it's not too much of a transition for him. He's also impressed too, the way he's picked up quarterback and even playing some defense as well. So those young guys have shown me. That they're gonna contribute in a positive way.
Is there any one of those young guys? Because I mean, every year everybody loses a few guys to graduation or what have you. The kind of guy with the biggest shoes to fill of all the guys that left you last year. Is there anybody that's really stepped up to fill a void?
Yeah, I have a junior linebacker, Shane Simonson, who he got his feet wet. He played a lot last year as a sophomore, and he had a Steven Schuster there, who was a two-time All-B South player, and now Steven's gone, and now he's got those shoes to fill at that position. He's kind of like the captain of our defense now, making all the calls at Mike linebacker, and it's been a challenge, and he's accepted it, and he's working harder and harder and harder, and I see improvement every day.
Who's that glue guy on this team? That one guy that's maybe kind of keeping everybody focused on what they got to do at practice during scrimmages, games.
Yeah, that would be Nick Johnson.
Okay.
Nick is going to be a special player. He's got great size. He's got great ability up front, and defensive end. He's probably one of our better overall athletes at that size, and he really went to town this winter and spring, getting himself prepared for football. And he looks great. He's playing great. He dominated in the scrimmage the other day. So that's the guy I think that can we could rally around and expect great things from him.
What has your message been to the team from the end of last season through the preseason so far? Say, hey, keep them focused to build up that confidence for them that this is going to be a different year.
Paying attention to little things, details. I don't think it's just these kids. I think it's a generation of kids who don't pay attention to the little things, and I don't maybe we're just getting older as coaches, and we like to say that we weren't like that. So that's been my message. You get told to do something, do it. You get corrected only once. Don't get corrected 3-4 times, making the same mistake. That's been the message. The faster we could learn, the better we're going to be. And when we stop thinking, then it's time to just play and run around and have fun, and that's what they want to do. But there's the paperwork and the studying and things like that they have to embrace, and they have to do a better job with that. That's been my message.
Coach, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.